Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. How's your morning? And how are you? We hope you are in the best condition to join the very first class in this week. But before we proceed to the presentation, I'll guide you to start this meeting by praying together. Shall we? Thanks. And now, we from Group 9 are going to present about discourse and classroom.
What exactly classroom discourse is? The term classroom discourse refers to all forms of talk that occurs inside the classroom and comprises the verbal as well as the non-verbal elements of discourse. While discourse analysis refers more generally to analysis of connected text in diverse contexts such as workplaces, media, and law courts, classroom discourse analysis refers essentially to the analysis of text in a classroom context, and especially to analysis of classroom talk. And the next is verbal and nonverbal elements. The verbal element in discourse include the language used by the teacher and the students, as well as teacher-student and student-student interactions. The nonverbal element of discourse includes non-lexical components of communications like gestures, prosody, and silence, etc. The verbal and nonverbal elements together form the observable aspect of classroom discourse. In classroom discourse is often different in form or function from language used in other situations because of particular social roles which learners and the teachers have in classroom and the kind of activities they usually carry out there. And the next is about the current thinking on classroom discourse. As you can see in the slide that there are three assumptions on the classroom discourse which comes from three different persons, and the first person here we have Kumarava Velu, as he said that it is true to say that all classroom discourse analysis share the assumption that the task of systematically observing, analyzing, and understanding classroom aims and event is central to any serious educational enterprise. And the second one here we have Kasdan. Further, they share the assumption that what goes on in classroom is so constituted by language. The analysis of language and of other semiotic systems is central to understanding ways in which knowledge is constructed in classroom, ways in which learning occurs or not, and ways in which interpersonal relations are constructed and enacted in classroom. And then the last one here we have Christie. Christie argues that unless we are willing to engage seriously with the discourse patterns particular to the institutions of schooling, when we fail genuinely to understand it, it is in language, after all, that the business of schooling is primarily accomplished. A further shared assumption, as Christie notes, is that classroom work consists of structured activity that is shaped by rules, routines, and patterns of interactions between teachers and students. Turns, sequences, and meanings. Research within the turns, sequences, and meaning tradition has been shaped, especially in the American tradition, by the theoretical perspective of conversation analysis, ethnography, and ethnomethodology. Such work has sought insight into classroom aims and events through the detailed account of patterns of interactions within those classrooms. Watson Gigio describes the purpose of such work as emphasizing the socio-cultural nature of teaching and learning processes, incorporating participants' perspective on their own behavior, and offering holistic analysis sensitive to levels of context in which interactions and classroom are situated. There is a long and very rich tradition of ethnographic research into classroom interaction, which has also focused on the nature and implications of classroom discourse. They often contrast features of classroom discourse with those of everyday conversation in order to highlight the distinctive nature of classroom talk. Thus, common features of classroom interaction such as initiating topics, turn-taking, asking and responding to questions are highlighted in order to focus on the specific roles of teacher and students. A feature of such research is detailed account of recurring patterns or phenomena within the classroom. While large quantities of data may be used in ethno-methodological studies to explore the nature of recurring patterns, the focus is typically on a detailed account of specific discourse features rather than on any attempt to provide a comprehensive overview.
Language role in the classroom discourse. Language is a powerful tool to build social interaction in the classroom discourse. Through a language, teachers can build emotionally and relationally learning communities in the intellectual environment that produce not mere technical competence but also caring, secure, and actively literate human beings. There are three functions of language. The first one is the ideational function. These functions serve for the expression of context communicating information. The ideational function focuses in transferring information clearly and effectively so it can be easily and quickly comprehended. Second one is the interpersonal function. This works when a language is used as a means of insertion into the speech event. This function establishes and maintains the social relation. The last one is textual function. This enables language to make a link with the internal organization of sentence and its meaning. The language becomes text and it is related to itself and its context of the use and the context of the situation. This function is classified into two, which are thematic structure and informative structure. Classroom talk has been characterized as a speech exchange system which has highly predictable pattern. For example, the teacher is the initiator of language exchange, and the student's job is to respond to the teacher's initiator. Then the teacher is the arbiter of acceptable student performance. Because of this, the teachers need to generate different interaction in the classroom to increase students' initiative, independent thinking, clarity of expression, the development of conversational skills, and the self-determination. Now we are going to talk about classroom dialogue. Robin Alexander suggests 5 principles or criteria of dialogic teaching to attempt concentration and involvement in the classroom. The first one is collective. The teachers and students address learning tasks together, whether as a mini group or a whole class. Then reciprocal. This is when teachers and students listen to each other, share their own ideas, and consider alternative viewpoints. The third one is supportive. When the students articulate their ideas freely without fear of embarrassment over wrong answer, and they help each other to reach the understanding. Number 4 is cumulative. It is when teachers and students build their own and each other's ideas and chain them into one coherent line. And the last one is purposeful. This is when teachers plan and steer classroom talk with a specific additional goals.
Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom taxonomy divided into three progressive models used to group interactive learning goals into level of complex nature and specific. The three lists of hierarchical cover the learning goals are intellectual, emotional, and action-based. The intellectual specialists have been the essential focal point of most customary instruction and is most of the time used to structure educational programs such as objective, appraisal, and exercise. The first focus of Bloom's taxonomy is the cognitive domain, or as known as knowledge base. The cognitive domain is divided into the six objectives. There are knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. The knowledge itself involves recognizing or memorizing like facts, terms, basic concepts, or answers without necessarily understanding what they mean. Its characteristic may include knowledge of specific such as terminology and specific facts, knowledge of way and meaning of dealing with specifics such as convention, trends and sequence, classification and categories, and the last one is knowledge of the universal and abstraction in the field such as principles, generalization, theories, and structure. The second one is comprehension. Comprehension involves demonstrating an understanding of facts and ideas by organizing, summarizing, translating, generalizing, giving description, and stating the main ideas. The third one is the application. The application includes utilizing process information like taking care of issues in new circumstances by applying gained information such as realities, procedures, and rules. Students ought to have the option to use earlier information to tackle issues, recognize association and connection, and how they apply in new circumstances. Next is analysis. Analysis is include the looking at and breaking the data into segment parts, deciding how the parts identify with each other, distinguishing intention or cause, making induction and discovering proof to help speculation. The analysis divided into three. There are analysis of elements, analysis of relationships, and analysis of organization. And then next is synthesis. Synthesis involves building a structure or pattern from diverse elements. It also refers to the act of putting parts together to form a whole. Its characteristics include production of a unique communication, production of a plan or proposed set of operation, and derivating of a set of abstract relations. And the last one is evaluation. Evaluation involves presenting and defending opinions by making judgments about information, the validity of ideas, quality of work based on set of criteria, and its characteristic includes judgment in terms of internal evidence, judgments in terms of external criteria. The second focus of Bloom's taxonomy is the affective domain, or emotion-based. Emotional area depict the manner in which individuals respond genuinely and their capacity to sympathize with other living things, agony, or happiness. Full of feeling goals commonly focus on the mindfulness and development in mentalities, feeling, and sentiments. There are 5 levels in the emotional space traveling through the most reduced request cycles to the most noteworthy. The first one is receiving, and then responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing. Receiving is about the student's memory and recognition. Responding is the participates of the student in the learning process. Valuing is the student attaches a value to an object, such as phenomenon or a piece of information. Organizing is the student can put together different values, information, and ideas, and can accommodate them with his or her own schema. And the last one is characterizing. The student at this level tries to build abstract knowledge. The last one is the psychomotor domain, or known as action-based. Activities is the psychomotor area depict the capacity to genuinely control a device or instrument. Psychomotor's destination generally center on change and additionally improve the conduct or potentially aptitudes. The psychomotor domain divided into several parts. There are perception, set, guided response mechanism, complex over response, adaptation, origination. The first one is perception. Perception is the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activity. For example, people guess where the gooses will go. The second one is set. Set is known as preparation to act. It incorporates mental, physical, and passionate sets. These three sets are means that foreordain an individual reaction to various circumstances, in some cases called mentalities. This development of psychomotor is firmly identified with the reacting to marvels, region of the full of feeling area. Next is guided response. The beginning phase of learning an intricate ability that incorporates impersonation and experimentation. Adequacy of execution is accomplished by rehearsing. It performs a numerical condition as illustrate, adheres to direction to manufacture a model, reads to hand sign of the educator while figuring out how to work a forklift. The keyword of the guided response is duplicates, follows, respond, repeats, and react. Next is mechanism. Mechanism is the intermediate stage in learning a complex skill. Its responses have become habit and the movement can be performed with some confidence and proficiency. For example, such as drive a car. Next is complex overt response. Complex overt response is the capable exhibition of engine acts that include complex development design. Its proficiency is demonstrated by a snappy, exact, and profoundly planned execution, requiring at least energy. Next is adaptation. Adaptation is ability are very much involved, and the individual can change development examples to fit unique prerequisites. The last one is origination. Origination is making new development example to fit a specific circumstance of explicit issues, such as learning. Learning results underlying imagination depends on evolutionally related aptitudes.
What exactly classroom discourse is?
Within the classroom, certain contexts are needed in order to get the same idea about what is being learned or studied. Therefore, if you wonder why there are many or even too many subjects learned within the classroom, that's because it's one of the ways to draw some kind of border limiting the contexts that are going to be learned or studied. And here is an elementary student case taken from the documentation of Sari Heath, which show how discourse and context affect each other. As appears in the slide, students are to circle the correct number under each illustration, and the answers are not the same form within the same class. Some of students circle all the two numbers, while the rest of them circle 2, 2, and 4. And from this case, we can know that the students who circle 2, 2, and 4 have understood the discourse, the language used within the instruction, and the context being learned, which is mathematics. And the rest of the students' answer lead to some questions. Either they don't know about the context being learned, or just ignoring the context and put more focus on the language used within the instruction, or maybe there's another possibility. To know and grasp the understanding This case can be studied through various perspectives. This variety of theoretical and methodological approaches makes visible the complexity of understanding classroom interactions. Each of the perspective provides opportunities to see and understand some aspects of classroom life. There's no single perspective, and no single researcher can uncover all of the dynamic interactions or factors influencing what occurs in classrooms. According to Betsy Rhymes on her book Classroom Discourse Analysis, A Tool for Critical Reflection, page 18, classroom discourse analysis could be paraphrased as looking at language in use in a classroom context with the understanding that this context is influenced also by multiple social contexts beyond and within the classroom to understand how context and talk are influencing each other. And she gave addition for the purpose of improving future classroom interactions and positively affecting social outcomes in contexts beyond the classroom. She states that this lofty addition introduces a critical component to classroom discourse analysis. It concludes that by studying classroom discourse analysis, we are expected to bring evolution or improvement to change the features of talk that may be inhibiting full participation for all students.
Then we move to the last part is future direction. Future direction impact caused by technological development has a major effect on classroom discourse analysis. While the use of language through class interaction continues to be the main semiotic system, the relationship between language and other semiotic systems need to be taken into account. The big impact of this technology in the future will affect multimodal analysis. Discourse analysis also has a big impact from technology, as researchers find it easier to solve problems with the help of computer programs. Understanding the nature of discourse and understanding in society has a major impact on the way of thinking about education, interaction in class, as well as power and inequality in social interactions. Class-oriented research involving critical discourse analysis is more popular than in the broader field of discourse analysis. There are now a number of special editions of books and journals dedicated. Although the same can be said for critical classroom discourse analysis. The impact of major change in the research involving classroom discourse analysis will continue to shape the types of questions being investigated, and the specific approach and tools to discourse analysis used by researchers will also continue to evolve.